Scar had her imprisoned. Hiya let her out. Here's your look at the Hiya Toys Godzilla x Kong The New Empire Stylist Series Shimo. As one of the Titans, Shimo boasts a snowy white body and blue-purple dorsal fins, exuding an aura of elegance beneath its powerful exterior. Using the original CG data from the movie, every detail is meticulously captured to faithfully recreate its on-screen appearance. She may be cold to the touch, but should be hot to collect. Before that, we get a closer look at the Godzilla x Kong The New Empire Stylist Series Shimo. I'd like to thank the folks over at Hiya Toys that did provide this sample. The Stylist Series Shimo is slated to drop in September 2025. Most of the online sites that normally stock and sells Hiya will be listing her for $59.99, so she's going to be about a $60 figure. To note, though, that there is no posability, though, but what she lacks in posability, she more than possesses in paint. Taking, though, the tape measure, we're going to go from the end of its tail to the front of her snout. Based at least on that, you're looking at Shimo being 13.5 inches in length, or roughly about 34 centimeters long. Then for its height, right to the very top of her dorsal fin, right around there, you're looking at Shimo being 6.5 inches in height, or roughly about 10, maybe about 16.5 centimeters tall. I know Shimo isn't posable, yet these guys are. I did want to at least bring in the exquisite Super Series Godzilla and King Kong to give you guys at least an idea of how much bigger Shimo actually is. Some actually prefer to really collect the Stylist series, then they don't have to worry about the fuss and the muss of having the posability problems. Because when you look at a character like Godzilla, for example, it's great, though, that figures do have posability where you can actually move the joints around. But it does leave them sort of more at a disability where you can't always really move the parts where you want to get them. With Stylist series, on the other hand, Hiya's already taken the liberty of sculpting and posing it for you. And what you end up getting, though, is a much more dynamic looking character on the shelf. Now, Shimo does come included with an accessory. It's basically just a formation of snow crystals. It's flat on the bottom, and it really is only there just to be displayed alongside the character. Now, at least it gives us something to work with. I mean, truth be told, even if she didn't come included with that, I'd still be fine with the fact that the figure just has what you're seeing right now. The crystals itself are what they are. I mean, you can kind of see how they would have started down below, kind of more in a translucent purple plastic. And yet, though, how much paint it gets airbrushed across the tips of each of the individual crystals. It's a really nice, impressive piece, even if, again, all it's really going to be doing is what it's doing right now. Moving that off to the side, getting, though, a closer look at Shimo. I will say right away, one thing that surprised me getting this out of the packaging was how heavy Shimo actually is. Yes, again, she doesn't have any posability at all. I mean, when you look at some of the way that there's lines across the neck, it would almost even lead you to believe that you'd be able to rotate the head around. But yeah, there's no posability at all. But she is pre-posed. I mean, she, again, is doing exactly what she's going to be doing from the time you get her out of the packaging to the time that you finally put her away in the box. She's, though, a very nice looking figure. And I think one thing that really sells this figure the most, not that I really should keep calling this a figure, but one thing that really sells this, though, is the amount of paint that they put this in. The actual looking at the paint, first of all, we kind of can start things first with the head sculpt. It's hard to really make out the eye because the eye is quite tiny. There's the eye on the one side, and we just spin around the other side of the face. There's the other eye there. It's small. They almost even get lost, especially when you have this further away. You can see that the top and the bottom of teeth are quite small. It doesn't seem like she's a Titan that's been designed for close quarter contact or attacking with her mouth. She seems to more really rely on the ability of using her ice formations. Of course, that's one of the things that makes Godzilla so terrified of her. So while she doesn't really have a whole lot in the way of her teeth, the teeth are really quite tiny. It's impressive really to think that whether this has been hand painted, somebody would have had to gone in there with a very fine tip brush and painted each of those individual teeth. Of course, the tongue's been sculpted well inside there as well. There's nothing that you can really move at all on the head. I love the crystal formation that we've got on the sides of our kind of crest here. They vary in size, of course, but each of them have been very well executed with the individual paint. I mean, there's some areas that look blue, darker blue, kind of as it gets closer to her body. And as it gets to the end, you can see these little frosted tips. Some of the crystals are also in more of a darker purple. It's a really nice combination of colors that while you're looking at it, there's never really a crystal that's identical to one another. I mean, yeah, maybe like the dorsal fins on either side, they are somewhat paired. You can see how they're larger on the side. They get kind of progressively smaller in the middle. I just think, though, really the thing that sells this the most is the application of the paint. One thing that really pulls across this figure, too, is that the general color that they went with isn't quite a white, isn't quite a pink. It's kind of more like a pearl color. Maybe it just glows when you have studio lights, or really for that matter, any light really shining on it. It almost just seems to pick up the color that's around her. You know, when you're looking at her from the front, she comes across kind of more of that pearl silver, but yet when you get the light hitting it just right, you can see a lot of little pink nuances start to show up. The scaling looks quite impressive too. I mean, to think that somebody would have had to have gone in there and sculpted all of this. Smaller little scales, and you can see down below there, of course, on the undercarriage, you get the much larger scaling forming there. 1 foot is flat. Actually, really, 3 of the 4 feet are flat. 1 foot is actually dragging, so it kind of looks like she's a little bit more injured. Nice scaling as they've sculpted at the top. Of course, you got the dorsal fins larger on the front as it gets smaller to the end of her tail. The tail almost does look like they're using a translucent plastic, and yet they're not. It's just really the way that they've painted it. All in all, though, like as I spin this around, hopefully a video like this is able to show you guys just how much well of a job they've done to sculpt Shimo. Even though, again, like she doesn't have any posability. I don't really feel like either she needs to have the posability. I know a lot of collectors of Godzilla figures. You're either one that usually likes to collect like a posable Godzilla where you can move the limbs around, you can kind of get in the pose that you want. Some people really just prefer the statues. The benefit of the statues, though, is that it gets you at least in a pose that you'd never be able to pull off otherwise. I mean, we've looked at Stylist series Godzillas. They tend to be a little bit leaner, as I just bring this one in for an example. The Stylist series tend to be a little bit leaner, but it also puts the King of the Monsters in a pose that generally you can't quite pull off with, you know, again, like having larger joints like this. Yeah, you can move the legs forward and back, but you never can really get them in the dynamic poses of what they're able to pull off with the Stylist series. That said, though, Hiya is also going to be releasing a Stylist, or the Exquisite Super Series version of Shimo. So we're also going to be looking at that one in an upcoming review. I did kind of want to start things first, not sort of casting a shadow on this one. Just though because she's missing articulation does not mean that she's not worth picking up. She does certainly have a lot of weight going for her. And again, where she's lacking any bit of the levels of articulation that comes with the territory that what we normally get with Hiya toys. Just because she's missing that does not mean she's not a good looking figure to be putting on the shelf. I know, again, I keep calling this a figure. It really isn't a figure. It's more of a statue and an exquisite representation of Shimo that we see from the film. Any of the sites that have listings for the Hiya Toys Shimo have listings for both the Stylist series and the more posable release. The thing that's kind of interesting, though, is that the one that's going to be posable is slated to drop earlier than this one. The Stylist series one that we looked at in this review is actually slated to drop in September 2025. You don't have to wait as long if you're looking to get the posable release of Shimo. She's actually dropping this month, May 2025. What's interesting, though, is that despite having several months spaced between the two releases, they're actually going to be selling for the same price. Yeah, the Stylist series is going to sell for $59.99. The posable version release of Shimo is also going to be selling for $59.99. So as a collector, you can choose which Shimo is best for your collection. I wouldn't say, though, rule out the idea of getting this one just because she lacks the articulation points. The one thing, again, that really sells this set for this release of her, for me at least, is the fact that they can get her in a pose that normally you wouldn't be able to get. Now, I know there's a lot of people that really love the posable articulated versions that we've gotten from Hiya Toys, and I get that. I love being able to go in there from time to time and move Godzilla's head around, move his arms, but we all know there's limitations with how much you can actually do with a bigger, bulkier body. Shimo does have more posability, yes, in the release that we're going to be getting in May 2025, but I don't think, though, she has as good of a paint as what we're getting with the Stylist series. I think, if anything, not only are you getting a better pose with the Stylist series, but I think you're also getting better paint applications. Of course, you'll know that when we eventually get around to looking at the other Shimo release from Hiya Toys. And again, speaking of Hiya, I'd like to thank the folks there that did provide this sample. Again, if you guys are interested, this one is slated to drop in September 2025. The one that we will be looking at in the next review is going to be dropping this month. So you won't have to wait as long if you're looking to get your hands on that Shimo. Let me know down below in the comments section when it comes to Hiya Toys and Godzilla releases. Do you prefer to collect them in the Stylist series, or would you rather to have your figures with posability? If you guys also did enjoy this video, you can do it a solid and throw it a like. If you guys want to stick around for more, so I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on that bell, and of course come back. While we have wrapped up things right now for Shimo, there will be more reviews coming your way, so making sure you're coming back for those. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.